All right, so we got this old Pontiac here. I'm noticing the sides of this thing. The clear still looks good all the way along the side, all the way up here in the back. The sides, if you look here, clear looks pretty good. I mean, it looks shiny. The car looks pretty good. But what looks really bad on it is, well, these flares don't look the greatest. I mean, I don't know what I can do with that. But if you see here, it's just starting to go on the top, and kind of want to get a couple more years out of the paint. So I'm going to show you guys, if you got this sort of thing here, I mean, there's a couple different routes you can go. I mean, you can repaint the top of the car, or, you know, match the color and do all that. But, you know, we really don't want to put that kind of money in here. So we're going to kind of go a little bit cheaper. I'm going to tell you a couple things to do that you can do. Now, this thing's rock chip like hell in the front. There's nothing I can do with that other than sand it down and repaint it. But if you look here, it's fading to the point where the clear is done. It's just about to come off. If you catch it early enough, you can kind of do this sort of thing here. So I got some waxing grease remover. Now take a rag and wipe it, right? Whatever I can see while this is wet is what's going to show up. So there's going to be a little bit of a blotchy spot, just a little bit, but it looks pretty good other than that. If you can see here on the hood, let me see if I can get you guys close enough, and maybe the lighting's good enough. Look at this spot right here. See all these spots right here? When I get it wet with wax and grease remover, 90% of that goes away, but there's still some stuff there, you know, so we're not going for perfection. We just want it to be a little more presentable for a little while longer. And like I said, get a couple of years out of this, it'd be fine. Same thing down here. These things, see these marks that show up right now? They're still going to be there. But there's some stuff in the clear on this bumper cover that will go away with a coat of clear over it. So I think what we're going to do now, the other thing I checked here is too, we're not going to sand it. We're just going to use a scratchy pad. Just get it rough enough for the clear to stick. Clear stick's pretty good. Do a little area, sample area like that. Wipe over it and make sure that it doesn't burnish the finish, because you don't want to do that. So I've done that already, and it looks like it's going to, there's enough clear on there. Like if it's like this in the back, let's look at the back area where it's really bad. Like this in the back, it's a little too late, because you're going to see that. You can see that where it's the actual paint's faded. What you can do with that, we'll show you, I'll talk to you a little bit later about, but there is a way to kind of clean that up. You could put a little bit of, you can buy those spray cans of the clear, if you've ever seen that at the O'Reilly Auto Parts or something like that. They have the regular, the matte color match colors. You can get, if you can get this color for this car, and then you can put a little bit of clear over this, okay? And then once the clear's on it, give it a little bit of real fine sandpaper. Do it a few times, and then put the paint over that and blend it. And that will give you the color, you know, to be right, so you won't see that fadey stuff. But this kind of works. I mean, it's not a perfect fix, but like if you've got a car that's got this it's really ugly looking like that, and you just want it to clean up and get a couple more years out of it, like this thing, like the sides look pretty good. So I'm not going to do anything with them. We don't want to repaint the car. We're just going to do a little cleanup. So you guys want to see how that works out? Stick around. We'll show you. I was looking at how bad this is too. I mean, it just looks so bad. I have no idea how this is going to work, but let's try it. I mean, what's it going to hurt, right? When you do that, I mean, this stuff cleans up. That's wax and grease remover, so a solvent-based product over that. It's going to clean that up pretty nice. Where, yeah, you got to get all the armor all and all that garbage off of here, that's for sure. So, got to really clean this thing. And I don't know, let's try Scotch-Brite and see what happens. I don't know if this is going to discolor it. It should be enough to get the clear to bite. I don't know, on this plastic, it needs a little bit more love. Man, that does clean it up. Let's look. Get this look wet again. Hang on. I'm using one hand here. Yeah, that should do it. I think we're going to go with that. So I'm going to go ahead and mask off all this bottom. Unfortunately, I didn't take a video of the car before, but you can see this thing looked ratty. It just didn't look very good, and it's a good running car. So if it looks better, always sells better. All right, just give her a scuff down. Be real light on the areas where it's real thin like that, or kind of feathering away. In fact, in the back there, I don't want to do anything with that. Just gonna clean it. Not gonna scuff it up at all. This I'm gonna scuff up the whole thing, just to get it opened up a little bit so the clear sticks a little better. It should stick fine where it's really flat like that though. Clear usually sticks pretty good if you use a decent clear. So there's some garbage clears that don't stick, but I'd say get a little bit better one, not the cheapest thing you can buy. If you're somewhere where you can buy it, Cap C6030, KAPCI, is pretty good. They have one called Latika. It's really, really cheap. It works decent. See, like this part, I'm not going to scratch that because it'll show through. So this part I'm going to. There's ones from a company called Chameleon that are pretty good. They make a VOC legal California one. Those are pretty cheap. Chameleon, they have them on a website called and you can, depends on where you live, like I said, what you got. Those ones out of, in the 49 state are really good. The first ones I talk about. Chameleon has one that's 2.8 VOC or whatever it is, California legal. So they have one over there, and they're all really good. Any of them. The more solid you get, the better the clear though. So depends on what you want to do. Okay, so I got everything covered up on this thing, and I'm just gonna. Here's what I'm gonna do. Okay, first of all, the whole thing has to be cleaned with solvent, anti-silicone, or gotta really clean it good because you're not sanding it really good, so you gotta make sure it's very clean. So I go through and use, Pre-Cleano is one of those brands. We used to call everything Pre-Cleano. So it's just clean the car really clean with a anti-silicone, and then what I use is, you can use the water-based stuff, water-based cleaner after that, but this works virtually the same, and it's about 1/10 of the price. Spray weight glass cleaner works really good to clean. So what this does is that gets all the silicone off the surface, right, by scrubbing it down with that stuff there. Now I'm going to go through and wash it all with this. Then we're going to go through, and on all the plastic, I'm going to spray an adhesion promoter, a clear adhesion promoter. All this is just because they have spray cans of it. I don't know which one I'm going to get. I'll see what they have at the paint store, but I'm going to get some plastic adhesion promoter, and we're just going to, there's a couple different things you would want to do. So whatever you can see when you're cleaning it is what shows up when it's painted, so, or when it's cleared. So you can see there's like little marks and stuff. These little marks and some of this stuff here. It's all going to show up. So if you wanted to get rid of some of that stuff, it can be done with the same process. Now, if it's a chip in the paint, it's going to look worse because it's going to look like a chip that's been painted over, and they look worse if you try and do it. But over the parts where it's like what they call delaminated, but it's really not, it's just worn off, the clear is starting to wear off or weather away. If it's delaminating, if it's actually peeling, you're gonna need to repaint it. But if you wanted to fix those areas and make them look really good, you take some of this stuff here. This is they call this a blender. It's really what it is a clear, It's a clear base coat. So they have them in, you know, like this is a cheaper brand. They have one by House of Color. You could just spray that down first. Now you might say, what? Spray it down first. Of course, after the clear adhesion promoter and all that on the plastic, I'm not going to even do that on there, but I'm not going to. I would spray that stuff on here, okay? So I would spray a coat of that on here, and then let's say wherever it's like right here, if you look, I don't know, when it's wet, it's kind of a little rough, okay? I could spray that on there and I could sand that stuff. So it's like you can use it almost like a primer. So you could sand it on here, I could spray it on here, and it kind of get rid of that whiteness there, but you might see it a little bit. You spray that on here, and then put maybe 2 coats of that over the bad areas, over everything, put it once, because then you can see everything. You'll see what's going to show up. So you spray that on there, and you're going to see, oh, this is not going to look very good. So put another coat on here, so that, because it's a little rough, and then you could go through and sand that stuff, okay? And then what you do is put another coat of that stuff on and not sand it. And then what you do is just get your base coat made up. You know, you can get a 1/4 pint or something like that and just dust it. Just put a nice, real light coat over that, and it'll be like a blend coat coverage. That's all you need, just enough to cover the white and make it look a little bit better. And that'll be gone pretty much when you put the clear on. You're not looking at you're not doing a repaint. Okay, so it's not the same thing. We're just gonna clean it up. So if I was gonna do that, I don't know if I'm going to, probably not. It's not gonna do any difference for what I'm doing here, but if I wanted this to look pretty good, what I'd do is, again, put a little bit more of that stuff on, that clear, it's clear base coat, put a little bit of that on there, and then you'll see what's gonna show up, sand it a little bit, and then put another coat over that that's not sanded, because if it's sanded, you're going to get sanding scratch in your base coat when you put the color on. So you put that down as a wet bed, and you put the color over it, and that way you can just barely mist it. Just get a little bit on there, just enough to barely cover that, and that's it. And then when you clear it, you won't even see it. So like I could just use a minigun, clear this whole thing, and just dust this whole hood, and all those little bad spots and everything would be pretty much gone. You'd see the other color underneath it, but it would hide them a lot more because you'd have paint over it. So that's a way to do it. But there's so many rock chips in this thing that would look worse. So like I said, I'm not going there on this, but if you wanted to, you could play around with stuff like that. Those are just ideas. Put in your head. You can do whatever you want with them, but you can use that almost as a primer. You put that down, the clear, almost as a primer, sand that down, kind of level out some of the stuff, and again, put another wet coat over it so that you don't have sanding scratches, because you can sand it with like 600 grit, and then you could go over that, and it sands pretty easy. And then you can go over that with the paint, but you have to go over it. You have to put another coat of that stuff down so that you don't get those sanding scratches in your blend coat. Okay, when you put that real light coat on there, that's what that stuff is for. It's for blend panels. You put it down over the panel. Let's say I'm trying to blend into this fender. You sanded it, okay, and you know, if you put on blending, if you try to blend a color, what happens is you spray the color down, and if it's sand scratches are too deep, what happens is you see those sanding scratches in the blend, and it looks terrible. But if you put that stuff down first, it fills in the scratches, and then you put the color over that, then you can't see the blend. It just blends in. So anyway, that's what that stuff's for. So people don't use it. They don't know what it's for. They don't even know what that product is because they don't know about that. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. All right, let's take a look here. It's pretty dry, but see how faded it was before. Those sides, and probably should have added a little more flattener to it. I don't know, maybe it'll die down. Maybe it's pretty fresh, but it's still, I mean, it's dry to touch. And I put that adhesion promoter on there, so it should stick. I sure, didn't like it too much, but it just looks a whole lot better. It was so faded and just really an eyesore before. So let's look at the roof. I mean, yeah, there's still signs of the that's just cleared right over. I didn't do any kind of touch-ups or anything, just cleared over it. You can see how much better all those areas look. I did use the intercoat clear on it. I just shot that on first, just to give it what it does is it kind of makes it a little easier for the clear to stick. So you put a little bit of that on. But you can see all the rock chips in the front of this. The only way to fix that is to repaint the hood, so I wasn't going to do that. I want to invest the money into color coat. It would probably cost me $60, $70 for a quart of paint, and I already had a bunch of clear laying around, so just cleaned it up with that. I already had the flattener, I already had the other stuff. I only used about a pint of the intercoat clear. That's it. And then whatever, about a quart and a half of clear for all the. This again, I shot these with a flattening agent in them. Shot the roof with no flattening agent. Obviously, it's pretty shiny. It'll stay that way. This clear doesn't die that quick, But yeah. But I just let my overspray, whatever, just go right up on the bumper. Just to clean it up. Like I said, it was really ugly. And I'm going to take a little bit of that wipes off, a little bit of rubbing compound and get that off of there. And then, like I said, I mean, it doesn't look like a crap car. So, and look at the front here. Look at the front. That didn't look too bad. That was all. You can kind of see the modeling in the clear. I mean, the paint. But it certainly looks better than it did. It was just about to come apart. And any much longer, and that whole roof would have turned white, and then you got to repaint it. The reason I didn't want to repaint it is because the ground effects. To pull all this stuff off of here to paint this car, it would take forever, or I'd have to mask it off, and I have that heavy edge, and then you got all this little trim piece in there. Well, anyway, guys, I think it looks a whole lot better. Got a little dust on here. It's starting to matte down a little bit. It's been out here a couple hours now. It's starting to, that's what I want. I want this to be not so shiny. Hopefully it dies down. As it dries, I mean, it's only been like an hour since I painted it or so. I put some accelerator in there, that's why it's already dry. But yeah, it'll definitely die down a little bit more as time goes on. And yeah, it looks like a well-maintained car, Look at that again. That looks good. I mean, you can see it, but it just looks a whole lot better. And the clear is shiny on the roof. It was really kind of matting down. It was just about to go. If you catch it like that, this is a good little way to fix it, at least for a little while. And I did the headlights as well. I didn't sand them real good. I should have sanded them a little more. If you sand them really, really good, you won't get the blotchiness. And I got, there's a little blotchiness in here. Plus, I got a nice big fat run. When I was doing this one, I kept on going off the end and not going all the way down the headlight. I just forgot that, I'm used to stopping at headlights, yeah. So, anyway, good enough. Talk to you later. Please like, share, and subscribe.